Okay, in this video we're going to go over the EFS, which is the Elastic File System on AWS, which is essentially a network storage device. So we're going to do the demo. It's illustrated here in this diagram that I found. We're going to create two EC2s in different availability zones, and then we're going to access the EFS from each EC2 to show that we can do that. So let me just show you all the steps that we're going to do. This is an outline. So we're going to create a security group for the EC2. We're going to create a security group for the EFS. We'll create the EFS and the two EC2 instances. We're going to mount the EFS on each of the EC2s. And we're going to be updating a file from each EC2 just to show that you can see it on the other EC2. And then we're finally going to clean up and unmount the EFS and destroy the EFS along with the EC2s. All right, so let's get started. What we're going to do first is we're going to create the security groups to be used for the EC2 and the EFS. So let's create the security group for the EC2s. We're going to call this test EFS demo, and we're going to just add a rule to SSH from my IP. That's all you really need, is we just need to SSH into each EC2. We're going to copy this here. Okay, and I'm just going to copy this to the name so it's more clear, just like that. I'm also going to copy the security group ID, so I'm going to need it in a second. Now I'm going to create the EFS security group. So let's call it that. And this is the important part. We're going to allow everything on the NFS port, which is 2049, but only coming from the security group that we just created. So it's not, this is a bit of a bug. It's not showing the security group that we just created, so I'm going to paste it in just like that. And I'm going to say EFS only from EC2s from our EC2s, something like that. Okay, and I'm going to make the name here so it's more clear. So now we have these two security groups. This one for the EFS, it allows only access from only the EC2s that are part of this security group. Okay, now that we have our two security groups, let's create the EFS, which is right here. And you can access it just by typing EFS, just like that. And let me just go back here. Okay, so now we're going to create the file system. It's on our default VPC. So here is where you can specify which availability zones you can access, that can access the EFS. I'm just going to choose all 6. And here, this is where we choose our security group. So here it is. So this is the security group that we just created for the EFS. I should have named these better probably, because one is for the EC2, one is for the EFS. And let me just make sure that's the right one. Test EFS. Yeah, that's the right one. I'm going to just rename this to EC2 EFS demo. There. Okay. And now let's go to the next step. The name, let's call this test EFS. The rest you could leave the default, the throughput mode, the performance mode. You can encrypt it and then you can have use a key, but like with the KMS key, but we're not going to for this demo. So we're just going to leave it like this. Let's go to the next step. Okay, so this is the summary of everything that's going to happen. So we will say create it. Okay, so it's going to take maybe a minute or two to create this. So let it keep going right now. So right there it's saying creating. So each of the availability zones is going to have a mount point for the EFS. So while that's happening, let's go to our EC2 dashboard and let's create a couple of instances. So we're going to create, each instance is going to be in a different availability zone. So let's create the first one. We'll create Amazon Linux 2, AMI, the T2 micro. So here is where we'll choose the availability zone. So we're going to choose, let's say A, so US East 1A, and the rest we could leave as the default tags. So we'll call this EFS 1A. And then the security group, we're going to choose the one that we created, which is, oh, see, it didn't update it. I think it was called, I think it was EFS demo. I think that's what it was. Yeah, so it allows SSH from port 22 just from our machine. Okay. Great. And launch with our key that we should have already created. Okay, so while that's going, I'm going to create a second one. Let's see if I can, so launch more like this. And the only thing I'm going to change is the availability zone, which is, I believe it's here. Yeah. So instead of 1A, I'm going to say 1B, just like that. So now everything else should be the same. And the name, we'll make it 1B. The security group is already the same security group. Okay. Okay. And we can launch. All right, let's launch this one with the same key. All right, so here we go. So now we have, so the first one looks like it's already running, and the second one is in the middle of launching. Let's see how our file system is doing. Okay, it's updating. Okay, here we go. So they are available now. Great. So now we have our EC2 instances and we have our EFS. Now it doesn't, we're going to go into now, we're going to SSH into our EC2 instances and we're going to mount the EFS. All right, and the way to do that, so there's these very handy instructions right here. Mount EC2 from local VPC. So what we need to do is we're going to install this package here, Amazon EFS utils, and then we're going to do the actual mount. So let's copy that. Actually, wait, before we do that, let's go and SSH into the instances. So let's start with the first one, 1A. This is the public IP. We're going to use this SSH command to do to SSH into the instance. Okay, we're going to say yes. Great, so now we're in that instance. So now we're going to copy this install command for the Amazon EFS utils package. I'm going to paste it here. Okay, installed. And now it's going to, we're going to create the mount point, so it's going to be just EFS, that's the directory, but we'll put it actually a little differently than what it tells us. Instead of putting it in the current directory, we'll just put it off the root directory. And then we're going to do the mount like this. I'm just going to change this to be off the root directory. There. Okay, so now it's done. Just one other thing, if we encrypted the EFS drive, we would have used this command here, which is for the TLS mount. Okay, and that's it. And what we're going to do now is we're going to create a file on that on the EFS drive itself. So let's go on the EFS drive. Okay, and let's do that. Hi, this is a test of the EFS from EC2 1. Okay, let's save that. And let's make sure that it's there. There it is. So we have a file saved on the EFS. So let's exit. Let's exit from here. And now let's go into the second instance where we can read that file and make some changes to it. So this is the second instance. This is the public IP. I just copied that. Now we're going to go into the second instance. And now we're going to do the same thing that we did on the first one, which is we're going to install the Amazon EFS utils package like this. And then we're going to create the mount point, except we're going to use the root off the root folder. And now we're going to do the actual mount like this. Just add the slash. There. So now EC2 from the second availability zone is also on the EFS. So let's see if it could see that file that the first EC2 created. Oops. And there it is. There's the file, and there's the contents of the file. So let's update that file. Let's say hello back from EC2-2. Okay, we'll save it. Great. Now, actually, let's just check the contents. Okay, we see that the contents are there. So let's exit out of the second EC2, and let's go back to the first EC2 to make sure that it can see the contents that the second EC2 created. So let's do that. Okay, and let's go to our mount, which is /EFS, and then let's do the contents of the file, and there it is, hello back from EC2-2. So we could see that now the first EC2 instance can see what the second EC2 instance wrote, and these are both on totally separate availability zones. Okay, so that was it. That's how the EFS works. What we're going to do now is we're going to clean everything up. So I'm just going to show you like what happened. Let's unmount the EFS. So we're now on the first EC2 instance. What we'll do is we'll say sudo umount /EFS. Now this is going to actually cause an error, so just in case you see it. See it's saying device is busy. That's because we're inside the EFS, so we can't unmount it when we're inside of it. So we should just get back to our root folder, our home folder, and run that command again. Sudo umount EFS. There, so now it's unmounted. And that's it. Let's exit from here. And actually, one more thing I wanted to show you was just to see if you run the mount command, you're going to see all of all the drives that are mounted. And what I forgot to do, but I'll do it from the other one, is if you do mount and then you pipe it through grep EFS, so you don't see that EFS mount anymore. So let's go. I'm going to show it to you on the other EC2 instance. So let's get out of the first EC2 instance like this, and let's go back. Let's go to the second EC2 instance, which is this guy right here. Okay, so he is still on the EFS, he's still mounted there, and we could see that, okay, everything is still fine for him. So if you run the mount command here, if you do mount, actually, I'll show you a couple of ways, mount -t and then NFS4, here it is, it'll show you the, here, let me just show you right here, this FS, that's the EFS ID, 01B3B, and that should match up with right here, this file system ID right there, FS01B3B780. So that tells us that we're mounted on that specific EFS drive. The other thing you can do is if you run the mount command, oh, the reason why I said, by the way, NFS4 is because the type for the file system is NFS4. You can also do mount and then grep EFS, and it'll show you the same entry, showing the same file system ID, which is right here. Okay, so now I'm in the EFS folder, so I'm going to go back to the home folder and I'm going to unmount it. Oops, I got to do it as the root user. There. So now if I run that mount command again to see if I'm mounted on the EFS, it's going to show nothing. So now I know I'm not on the EFS drive anymore. Okay, so now I've unmounted from the EFS from both EC2 instances. I can go here and delete the file system, and just have to paste the file system ID in. Okay, and I can go into my EC2s and I can just delete the EC2s. And finally, if I go into my security groups, I have to delete the EC2 security group first, because if I try to delete the EFS security group, it's referencing the EC2 security group, so it won't allow me to delete it. So if I try to delete it, it's going to, maybe it will. I thought it wouldn't. Oh, okay. I guess it can. I've run into that before where because you're referencing another security group, it won't let you delete it. So here we'll, okay, oh I see. So because the EC2 instances are in the process of shutting down, it's not going to allow me to delete the security group. So let's see if they're, okay, we have one more, it's almost there. And let's see if we try it now. Okay, well, you guys get the idea. We don't have to wait for it to fully shut down. So once that EC2 instance is shut down, I can go in and delete this security group, and that would be it.